Hey everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about chapter 4, continuing on to our next lesson, which is going to be 4.7. We're going to be using slope-intercept form today, so I hope you're ready to go. All right, so we're going to be graphing linear equations and using slope-intercept form. And you've actually done pieces of slope-intercept form when you started putting things into function form. Yep. So moving on. Please write this down. It says what a slope-intercept form means. It says if a line has slope m and the y-intercept is b, then the line is described by the equation y equals mx plus b. Okay, so I want you to write that down and then I will discuss it. All right, so looking at this, what it means, okay, whenever you look at something and you notice from function form, it was always y equals, okay, using this form, okay, m is always going to be in front of the x, and then your b comes in the end. So your x comes first, and your b comes second. And I do want you to notice that it's not a minus sign in between there, it's a plus sign. So in slope-intercept form, you have mx plus b. Well, we know what m is. M is always going to be our slope. Okay, remember, our slope is always going to be rise over run. Okay, and by knowing these pieces of that rise over run, all we need is to figure out 1 point. Once we have 1 point, we can graph an entire line based on that 1 point. And we have that 1 point under B. This is our y-intercept, okay, where the line crosses that y-axis. Remember, our y-intercept is going to be 0 and then B. So whatever number is in that B section is going to be your y-intercept, and that point is going to be 0B. Okay, so very first thing is you do need to put it as your y equals in function form. Your mx, or the slope with the x, comes first. That b comes second. Your m stands for rise over run. Your b stands for your y-intercept. Based on that information, you are going to be able to graph. All right, so here's one problem that we have. It says find the slope and the y-intercept. Then we're going to graph the equation. You don't have to use this, or don't have to write this one down. So as we start here, okay, I'm going to get y equals something, okay, because remember, that's going to be my goal, is to get y equals. Okay, well, in order for me to get y all by itself, okay, I need to get rid of this 5x. Okay, how do I bring that 5x from the left side of the equal sign to the right side? I subtract. So I take this and I take minus 5x and subtract 5x over here. Now, remember when we were talking about y equals mx plus b, that's slope-intercept form. Okay, so slope-intercept, that's going to be y equals mx plus b. Okay, and you will notice that you are finding the slope and the y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b, now I have negative y is equal to negative 5x plus 3. And the reason why I add that 3 is because in this initial equation up here of 5x minus y, that 3 is positive. Okay, so underneath, my 3 is going to be positive. Same thing. Okay, so now I have negative y is equal to negative 5x plus 3. But notice I have negative y. I don't have y yet. I need a positive y. So whenever I do that, I basically take this negative sign, and remember, there's a negative 1 here, and I'm going to divide by negative 1. When I divide by negative 1, everything just changes. The sign just changes. So now you have 5x, a positive 5x, plus a negative 3. Because negative 5 divided by negative 1 is a positive 5. 3 divided by negative 1 is a negative 3. Okay, so under this equation, I now have y equals 5x plus negative 3. Well, if I look at that and then look at my equation above here of y equals mx plus b, what letter represents slope? It's going to be m. So what equation, when I look at y equals mx plus b and y equals 5x plus a negative 3, what what number is in the M spot? It's going to be 5. So my slope is 5. What does that mean? What does a slope of 5 mean? That means I have that fraction of 5 over 1, and slope is always rise over run. So I go up 5. That means up 5, right 3. Now why do I go up and right? Because it's positive. Okay, positive. Okay, now for my B, what does my B stand for? Slope intercept. Sorry, not slope intercept, my y-intercept. So if I look at this, my y-intercept is going to be -3. So at -3, that's my y-intercept. So what point is that? If I have a y-intercept of -3, what point is it at? 0, -3. Now, based on this information, I have my I have my y-intercept and I have my slope. I am going to be able to show you how to graph this. So my very first point is going to be my y-intercept here of 0, -3. So if I'm starting at my origin, I go down 3 spots. 1, 2, 3, and that's my next point. That's my y-intercept of 0, -3. Now what I'm doing, okay, I now have 1 point, and basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to graph my slope. Remember, my slope is 5. As a fraction, that's 5 over 1. It's always, as a fraction, we always have rise over run, okay? Meaning, if I have 5 over 1, I rise 5 and I run 1. So I'm going to go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to go right 1 spot. And there's my point. Okay, I want 3 points, so I'm going to do it again. Go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and right 1. From here, I'm graphing a line, which means I do need to draw a line. So I'm going to draw a line straight down. Lines always have arrows, arrowheads on them, and I am done. Okay, so once you find the slope and your y-intercept, okay, you are able to graph it. But first you need to put it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Okay, where the mx comes first, the b comes second. That is slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept. And I'm finding the slope and my y-intercept. Okay, I want you to try the next one. Put this into slope-intercept form, and then I want you to graph the equation. So first, slope-intercept form, and then graph the equation. So pause now, give this a shot. If you're still not sure, I still want you to draw this, and then I will explain, and then pause before the second one. Okay, give this one a shot. All right, so slope-intercept form, meaning y equals mx plus b. So when I do this, I am going to get rid of this 2x on this first equation by subtracting. Subtract 2x on the second equation, and I now have negative y is equal to negative 2x minus 3. Now why did my negative 2x come first? Because in slope-intercept form, that's what comes first, my mx. Okay? Then remember, it is a negative 1y, so I'm going to divide by negative 1. And you don't need to show this step. If you want to just change all of the signs to positive, you can. Okay, just flip all the signs. So you do not need that middle step when I divide by negative 1. So now I have the equation of y equals 2x plus 3. What does that mean? What is my slope? What is my y-intercept? My slope is the coefficient in front of the x, so that is 2. My y-intercept is going to be the b, okay, which is that last ending there, and that's going to be 3. So what point is going to be my y-intercept? 0, 3. Okay, from here, I am going to I'm going to graph now. Graph this equation. You start with your y-intercept, then you move points with your slope. So I'm going to start at 0, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, here's my point. My slope is 2. Okay, so as a fraction in my head, I'm thinking slope. Slope is 2. That means 2 over 1. My slope is always rise over run. So I have to go up, got it, up 2, right 1. Up 2, 1, 2, right 1. Up 2, 1, 2, right 1. Do I have 3 points? Yes, I do. And I can graph this line. Okay, so that line represents the equation of 2x minus y is equal to negative 3. Okay, right there. Awesome. Okay, I just graphed the equation. I solve for y, get y all by itself. Make sure that mx comes first in our slope-intercept form. Function form doesn't matter as long as you get y equals. But in slope-intercept form, that mx comes first. Okay, next one, I'm going to erase this. Okay, now, if you look at this next equation, it says y equals 4x minus 5. Okay, well, put it into slope-intercept form. It's already basically in slope-intercept form. Just remember, y equals mx plus b. This would just change to plus a negative 5. Okay, add its opposite, right? Add its opposite. Here we go, because I always want those positives. So now, what's my slope? 4. What's my y-intercept? Which is my b. B stands for y-intercept. What's negative 5? Well, what point relates with negative 5? 0, negative 5. Plot that point of 0, negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Graph the slope of 4. Well, as a fraction, what is that going to be? 4 over 1. Rise over run. I go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right 1. Up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right 1. And I'm done. I graph that equation. Awesome. Okay, so once you have your y-intercept, you plot that y-intercept. Okay, then you go back. You find out what your slope is. When you know your slope, you put that slope in. You go up or down first, then right or left. Your numerator is always your rise over your run. Your rise is your y's. Your run is your x's. Rise, y's. Think about that. Okay, next section. Okay, now we're dealing with parallel lines. It says two different non-vertical lines are parallel if and only if they have the same slope, and all vertical lines are parallel. Make sure you write the words and show me the graph. Write the words and show me the graph. I would also, when you show me the graph, make sure that you have this in there. Okay, those equations. That is very important. Remember, vertical lines are always x equals. X equals. Okay? All right. So what does this mean? You can pause now and then I'll explain. Pause. Okay, you have it all finished or written down. Now I'm going to explain it. So if you look at this, if you look at two lines, it doesn't matter where they begin. If they have the exact same slope, okay, and in the form of y equals mx plus b, what is my slope? This m. So the coefficient in front of the x, if that is the exact same, exactly, one cannot be positive, one cannot be negative, but they need to be both positive, and both, if you look at this, they're both positive 1/2 here. Okay, so that number is the exact same, then they are parallel. It does not matter with these numbers in the back. Doesn't matter. Okay? Does not matter. As long as they have the same slope, they are parallel. Just look at that slope. Okay, so let's try one. Write this one down. And I want you to tell me which lines are parallel. Okay, line A, line B, line C. Notice none of these are in slope-intercept form. Okay, so put that in slope-intercept form. Have a coefficient in front of your x and solve for y. Give her a shot. All right, so looking at this, they need to have the exact same slope. So if I look at this on this line A, I'm going to get x out of here on that left side. So now I have 2y is equal to 6 plus x. Okay, sorry, not 6 plus x. X plus 6. Okay, then I'm going to divide by 2, which means I divide both of these by 2. Okay, when I divide, excuse me, when I divide y, or divide x by 2, well, what's the numerator on, or sorry, what is the coefficient next to the x on this first one? Well, it's 1. Okay, so my coefficient on here is 1/2 x. 6 divided by 2 plus 3. Okay, next one. Line B, same idea. If you look at this one, I'm going to add x to both sides. Okay, I then have 2y is equal to x plus a negative 2. Okay, divide by 2 and solve for y. What is going to be my coefficient for my x, or what is going to be my slope? 1/2 x plus negative 1, because remember, we have to divide negative 2 by 2. Last one. I bring that over, negative x minus x, those cancel out. So I now have 2y is equal to negative x plus 4. Divide by 2, divide by 2. I now have y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. Okay, so now what does it mean to have a parallel lines? We just put them all into y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b is what type of a form? Slope-intercept form. Get used to that word, slope-intercept. Get used to the equation y equals mx plus b. You will be hearing it a lot in the future. Okay, so slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. You have y equals 1/2 x plus 3, y equals 1/2 x plus a negative 1, y equals a negative 1/2 x plus 2. Now, according to our parallel lines, we are just looking at the slope. What's the slope in the line A? It's 1/2. What's the slope in line B? 1/2. What's the slope in line C? Negative 1/2. Okay? So out of those three lines, which ones have the exact same slope? Meaning they are parallel. The exact same slopes means they are parallel. What does it mean to be parallel? They extend on and on and on forever on the same plane and never ever cross. Which one has that? Line A and line B, because they are both slopes of 1/2. Okay, if you have any questions on this, make sure you ask, and please direct me to which problems you're not quite sure on. Okay, because I need to be able to go back to a certain problem and let you know. Now, your your notes should look identical. Make sure you're always writing the example problem, always writing the directions, unless the directions are the same, writing the directions, and writing your work. Because if you don't write your work, you don't write the example problems or the directions, you're going to be lost and confused. And I don't want that to happen. And we need to work on using terminology. Okay? All right, here is your homework. It is page 246 to 249, 12 through 54 evens, 70 through 78. You will be graphing, okay? You will be graphing on certain problems, so you are going to need graph paper. If you need a sheet of graph paper, you can head up to the front of the room and borrow some, okay? And you can use that on your homework. Okay, make sure when it says graph, you graph. Make sure when it says identify the slope and the y-intercept along with it. You should know what slope-intercept form is. There should be no curveballs here. Okay, so you should be able to do this entire assignment based on the information I have given you. If you are not sure about the information that I have given you, make sure you ask because I need to cover that. All right? Have a great day. Enjoy. Okay, we need a little hair, ears, nose. Should I give him a goatee? Awesome. Oh, gotta have glasses too. Harry Potter. Okay, enjoy. Have a good day.